What the fuck is going on? Let's say off air. Hold on. I don't know if you guys can see me. Let me make sure this is on. I have a little problems here. Okay. All right. Everybody can see me? Sorry, I don't know what was going on. I have some problems there. All right. All right. We good. I don't know what's going on. All right. Still haven't figured this chat thing out. I'm going to have to go back. All right. We good. All right. All right. Let's get situated here. All right. Okay, apologize for some of those technical difficulties. I don't know what the fuck was going on there. All right, let me just get this situated because I still, for whatever reason, can't see the chat on that end. All right. All right. All right, now that's out the way. All right, peace to everybody. Smooth to God, Tony Thornton, Manny, Gypsy Goddess, Pablo 69, Bathalicious. Can you guys see me and hear me? Just type in. If there's still some problems, I'm going to switch out, go into the other format. Could everybody somebody type in yes if you could see and hear me? I just want to make sure. If not, I'll switch to the other format. I don't know if you can. You can't hear me? All right, this is what I'm about to do because are you good? All right. I just want to make sure because it's kind of funny on this end. I'm just making sure that it's all right. All right, you guys can hear me. All right. What I'm gonna do. Hold on a second. Oh, I'm just checking something. All right. So everybody's good. Everybody can hear me. All right. Cool. All right. I want to welcome everybody. Sorry for the little technical difficulties we was having there for a minute. And I was having a problem linking it in. What I wanted to kind of do, some stuff I didn't get able or was not able to touch on the last video. I was going to do some stuff on the Orishi in this one, but I'm gonna push that up a bit because I want to continue with the Voodoo deities. This week, get a little more specific because last week did not have, or due to what I had going on, didn't have enough time to get a little bit more in depth. We went over the Lohas last week, the 21, not just the 21, the nations, the Petro Lohas, the Rada Lohas, the Gede. We went over the different families and kind of how they work and operate. The Petros being the more fiery ones, just a quick review, and the Rada being the more, laid back or not as aggressive energy. Now, again, on this path, we don't really look at it like that, especially as an adept of the black arts. We definitely, as I've said before in the past, we don't look at the energy in that regards. It's all the same energy. It's again about knowing how to work and facilitate and utilize that energy correctly for the right situation. One of the things a black adept has to shed their minds of is that false concept of good and bad, because that'll hold you back in your work. Now, as we mentioned last week, the Voodoo deities / archetypes, as you know and perform and do your work, you notice there's a different energy and vibration and frequency to each archetype that you work with. There's an energy and a vibration when it's the Orishi. There's an different energy and vibration when it's the Egyptian archetypes. And definitely a different energy and vibration, for an example, when you're working with the Voodoo or Voodoo archetypes. It's very aggressive. It's very raw. They manifest and personify on different levels, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. Some carry a very warrior-like energy. There are sexual aspects to some of the Voodoo deities, especially the Baron Samedi. But one of the important aspects that I kind of want to focus on a bit in this video is the crossroad deities. We talked a little bit about them last week. And some of the powerful feminine archetypes that are on this, or part of this Voodoo pantheon. You can do and have great success and do great work when you work with these particular deities. Now, as I said last week, you can't half step. You can't come half-assed with this, because if you do, it's going to mess you up on a lot of levels. So you must be consistent in your work. All right. So when I say mess you up, what I'm saying is it could make things more stagnated. It can cause more confusion mentally. It can cause a little bit more disruption. Sometimes the energy becomes volatile, and if you're not right, it may not be mixing correctly with some of the work that you're doing. So, be very, prepare yourself and be very aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it. All right. So I'm going to go back into the Voodoo Hoodoo spell book. Now, again, as I made it clear last week, this is just me. You can work with any aspect of it. I do use a lot of the Voodoo Hoodoo aspect of it, which is very popular in per se New Orleans. It's the popular form how we here in the West or America, who some people might know as some of the Geechees, et cetera, that came over here from the South and moved and scattered out to other parts here in the USA and had that connection to these African spiritual roots. So this is kind of a mixture or a conglomeration of, folk or folk-owned magic mixed in with African traditions. Now, what I do, this is just me, I don't really fuck with a lot of that religious or folk traditional shit. I kind of use the core essence of what the deities represent or the archetypes represent and kind of formulate my own stuff, but just using the foundation of it. And as I've always said, that's the key in working this path. That's the key. And when we talk about, the path of self-mastery and each individual on the path creating their own path, that's the process. That's the part of doing the work. And I know for an example, we've had 2 sessions of the Saturday classes, which have been very long. For those that are taking it, they've gotten a small idea of what that involves and entails, starting from the very bottom. And that's doing the work is actually getting in there and metaphorically speaking, getting your hands dirty. I want to make this clear. This is more just about reading books. Okay. You know, reading books and your research is a part of it. Don't get me wrong. But it goes way beyond that. You know what I'm saying? It goes way beyond that. This is about actually the part where you start to take that role as becoming a mortal or becoming a god or becoming a deity, is actually doing the work, creating things for yourself that work for you and what will level, that transform and change your life spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and of course, financially. Now, I've always been a firm supporter. The knowledge that you profess to have, the skills, the wisdom that you claim to have should be a reflection in your everyday life. You understand? It should be a living example in your everyday life. If you claim to be about something as far as spiritual work on this path, you should be able to demonstrate that by, again, your power, your wisdom, and the results. But more importantly, the example you set. Meaning, if there's something you're talking about or teaching on, but you're kind of going against that principle, then that kind of poses a problem on this path, because this path requires you to produce results. That's why I say it's a problem. You can't fake the funk, because if you fake the funk, as I've said many times before over the years in these videos, it will manifest. It'll show in your work. All right. So having said that, and again, if I missed anybody else in the room, peace to everybody here. It's just weird how I can't see shit on that one. Yeah, whatever. I just roll with it as long as you guys can see and hear me. And I don't know why it says off air, but it's live, so I guess it's recording. We will find out. All right, but anyway, so let's get a little bit. I don't know if. All right, bear with me here. So let's talk. Let's start with some of the crossroad deities. We're going to go into some of the explanations. I want to touch a little bit on this. All right. All right. Let's start with, we went over Aida Voodoo last week, and we laid that connection to the serpent energy, the Kundalini, dealing with creation. She's symbolic also and is representative of Dambala's wife. Right? But let's go into this. Aida Voodoo is a loa of fertility, rainbows, and snakes, and is a companion or wife to Dambala. She represents the sky powers, and the rainbow is her symbol. She functions as a protector of the cosmos and giver of blessings. Long ago, the serpent spirit Dambala created the world. He used his 7,000 coils to form the stars and the planets in the heavens. Now, mind you, this is symbolic. And to shape the hills and valleys on earth. He used lightning bolts to forge metals and make the sacred rocks and stones. When he shed his skin, he created all the waters on earth. And when the sun showed through the mist, settling on the plants and trees, a rainbow was born. Her name was Aida Voodoo. Dambala loved her and made her his wife. They're still together, the serpent and the rainbow. You probably heard that term. There's actually a book called The Serpent and the Rainbow. Now, somebody had posed the question, the connection with Dambala and Apep. Well, there's a huge connection. Now, mind you, as it says in here, dealing with creation, regeneration, shedding the skin, and taking on a new skin. This is all. There's a lot of symbolicism with Aida Voodoo and Dambala. There's a connection there, and you could utilize and connect this with a couple of different things. You could utilize this in a lot of your work when trying to bring about a certain change or aspect in your life, be it financially, spiritually, or emotionally. So there's a connection there with Apep because there's the constant regeneration. And as I said, we've done obviously in the last several weeks, a lot of videos on a PEP and understanding what the chaos represents, and understanding the chaos is that essence or origin that the adept has to make order out of. Well, this is all, you're going to find a lot of similar synchronizations with these deities. All right. Then you have Aizan, right? Now, again, my French may not be the greatest, so bear with me. So I may not be pronouncing it the best. Aizan. This is a lower of, this you can use with commerce, healing. She represents love and is associated with the Voodoo rites of initiation. Aizan is regarded as the first archetype Mambo priestess and associated with priestly knowledge and mysteries, particularly those of initiation. She's the protector of these religious ceremonies. She is syncretized and said to be married to Papa Loco, which we'll get into a little bit. Her symbol is the palm frond, and she doesn't drink alcohol, right? These are just some, I'm going to go through some of the major attributes. Now, this particular here is when we work with other archetypes and other paths, like dealing with finance. If your financial paths are blocked, for an example, this is a good archetype to do spiritual work with. All right. So there you're going to see similar, whether it's the Orishi pantheon, whether you're working with the Egyptian pantheon, etc. You're going to see the similar connections, right? All right, let's go to now in this tradition too, you're going to see some that are similar to the names of the Rishi, like Babaluaye, right? And there's similar synchronizations with him in Ifa. Babaluaye is the spirit of epidemics, illnesses, and disease, but is also the deity who cures. Now, I myself over the years have witnessed a lot of people go through ceremonies who were very ill or had a terminal illness, or who needed healing, or who have been ill for a long time or periods in their life. I've watched several times elaborate ceremonies. I've also known people in the Ifa tradition, which again is a little different than this, that had to quote unquote make the saint or be crowned to kind of so-called cure that illness. Okay. Though originally associated with smallpox, many of today's worshipers appeal to Babaluaye for healing from HIV, AIDS, etc. In Santeria, he is syncretized with San Lazaro. Babaluaye is said to be a rightful owner of the earth and a special advocate for the poor. Babaluaye is traditionally pictured in blue, brown, red, white, and purple, and is offered. These are some of the physical offerings, which I don't really fuck with a lot of that anymore. So I'm going to skip that. His sacred implements include a rattle and 2 crutches. I do have an image of Babaluaye on my African altar. And I do work specifically with Babaluaye for healing aspects. And I found it is tremendous. When you really tap into the party cycle, and I've used it for others, you can actually activate the energy of Babaluaye if you're trying to do healing work for others. The reason why it's effective and powerful, I actually at the time when my father was going through some stuff, it is a very powerful and volatile energy. But one thing I've also noticed with Babaluaye, which I'm kind of connected to some of the crossroad deities, it helps you understand death and sickness. Now I'm trying to explain that the best way I can. Sometimes the energy can be utilized for understanding and preparing the individual to go through that quote unquote, or understand quote unquote that death process. But in essence, you can work with Babaluaye. And again, I can only convey to you my experience and what I utilize it for. So I want to make it clear what I'm saying is not, you might find other avenues to utilize, because I can only share with you the methods that I've used that I've been successful with. But it is your job to look into it more intent and see what you can create and come up with, right? Baron, some say Samedi, some say Samdi. Baron Samdi is a loa of the dead, all right? And this is probably one of the most key, the barons, which we'll go through a few of them. The barons Baron Criminal, Baron LaCroix, and Baron Samedi, right? Crossroad deities. And as I mentioned on the last bit, a little while back, I think it was sometime last year, we did a pretty big ritual for the Baron, activating that energy. When the Baron came through, again, dealing with that crossroad deity to make that connection with the realm of the living, which is really the realm of the dead, and the realm of the dead, which is really the realm of the living. I remember the spirit came down, and actually you get, it's called saluting the dead. You get completely wrapped in a black cloth and you lay flat. And I remember when the spirit came, Baron Samedi, and having glimpses of it in and out. I mean, hard to explain in words, but what happens is each individual walks up and they shake the hand of Baron Samedi. It's called saluting the dead. And that's kind of to make that connection with those crossroad deities, because them crossroad deities, especially all the barons, can be used in depth and in detail to open roads, blockages. Now, you can synchronize other deities like Anubu in the Egyptian pantheon, Santa Muerte, the Holy Death. These are very powerful because they can be used on a multitude of levels. You can use them for financial blockages, relationship blockages, family blockages. Any issues where your roads are blocked, you can work with this archetype. Now, again, make sure you're clear on understanding what an archetype is. I want to make this clear. Even though, and again, this may be more so for newer people listening. We're not worshiping, we're becoming, okay? There's a difference, and we have to understand that when working archetypes. We're trying to activate the energy that they represent, the consciousness that they represent within our psyche, right? So when you start to focus and zone in on these particular archetypes, it activates that energy that's naturally lays dormant within you. So the crossroad deities are very powerful in the sense that when you need something that carries a little more oomph, for lack of a better word, a little more power, and you need that blockage, cleared up in a hurry for whatever you're dealing with. That's why I said in the beginning of the video, that's why these deities are very aggressive. Aggressive in the sense that it's an intense energy. It works quick. It's powerful, but you must be able to maintain it and not half step with it. All right. So Baron, he's the Lord of the Dead, along with numerous other incarnations. Baron Cemetery, Baron LaCroix, Baron Criminal. He is the ultimate suave and sophisticated spirit of death, usually depicted with a black top hat. We talked a little bit about this last week. Black tuxedo, dark glasses, and cotton plugs in his nostrils, as if to resemble a corpse dressed and prepared for burial in Haitian style. He has a white skull-like face, talks through the nose, tells crude, funny jokes. He is known for disruption, obscenity, debauchery, and for having a particular fondness for tobacco and rum. Yes, and that's true, especially when you're doing a ritualistic working. As well as being the all-knowing Loa of death, he is a sexual Loa, right? There is a sexual energy to Samedi. He's kind of in a, not in a bad way, a womanizer, very sexual. Frequently represented by phallic symbols, he is the head of the Gede family of Lohas and married to the Loa Manman Brigette. Baron Samedi stands at the crossroads where the souls of humans pass on their way to Geni. Baron is a protector of children and is petitioned for sick children. He is the authority over zombies and decides whether or not people can be changed into animals. Since Baron Samedi is the Lord of Death, he is the last resort for healing, because he is able to decide whether to allow the dying to cross over or allow them to recover. A lot of symbolisms there, even with Anubu, crossroad, crossing over, making that connection, quote unquote. And I'm just using the term everybody can relate to, the afterlife, which is a little bit religious, but we know what we're talking about when we mention that on this path. And then I mentioned a little bit last week, which I want to elaborate a little bit more on, the Masonic symbolism that's connected to this imagery that you just saw. The skull, as we know on this path, when we have the representation of the skull on our altar, the skull is that representation of death, which leads that doorway to eternal life. This is why you'll see one of the main implements used in a lot of these ritualistic workings is the skull, because it symbolizes a multitude of things when you're utilizing these workings, not just because it looks cool or it's fucking spooky and scary. You understand? There's a method to the things that we do. You understand what I'm saying? There's a reason to the things that we do. And it's you have to be aware of that, because if you're just going through the motions and not understanding what you're doing, then it becomes a little bit confusing. Now, I mentioned last week, I want to elaborate a little bit more. You see the top hat, you see mention the tuxedos. You'll find any brothers that are watching right now that travel through the Masonic Lodge know when ritualistic work is being done and the lodge is opened for ritualistic work. Usually the craft gathers dressed in full regalia, which includes a tuxedo. The top hat represents their worshipful master, right? Who sits in the east. He wears the top hat. That's one of the implements. And when he gets in the east and sits, he puts the top hat on. It's funny because, and it's not coincidental, you could see the connection. And what I mean by the connection, because the Blue House in Freemasonry, which comprises the first 3 degrees of Masonry, the Entered Apprentice degree, the Fellowcraft degree, and the Master Mason degree, which symbolize life, birth, death, and resurrection. Birth or life, death, resurrection, in that order. And it's not a coincidence that imagery of Baron Samedi is kind of connected to that, because he is that gateway or doorway, or is one of the representations of that gateway or doorway that connects you to eternal life. So in the lodge, you must go through the degrees, especially on the 3rd degree in the Blue House, the Master Mason degree, where you reenact and you become like the character Hiram Abiff, and you're actually go through this ritual where you are killed or die and you're resurrected or brought back to life, renewed. This is connected on a multitude of levels when you look at it. 1, from an occult perspective, 1, as an adept of the black arts, 3, if you are a Masonic person that has gone through Masonic rituals and degrees. So when people ask meanings of things, this is why you'll hear me say this over the years. People will ask to break down, a symbol in the lodge, or a symbol in ancient Egypt, or an art that changes as one starts to go through different levels of learning or degrees or initiations or spiritual systems. Those meanings kind of change as one continues to evolve, continues to grow. So this is important to understand, because that's part of this growth process. Now, as far as Masonry is concerned, as I said, in the Caribbean, places like Haiti, and other parts of the Caribbean, and even in Africa, and I'm going to say even overseas in Europe, Masonry is not as wide open and publicly visible as it is here in the United States of America. What do I mean by that? You know how you see a lot of people here, they have car decals, they wear all this regalia, like they want everybody to know that they're Mason. There's that aspect of it. Masonry here in America, as I briefly touched on last week, can tend to be a lot more religious per se than as they would practice it in the Caribbean, in places like Haiti. There's more of an occult ritualistic aspect, and there is a connection here with Baron Samedi and Freemasonry. If you know any Haitian brothers from Haiti that are Masons, they will clearly explain that to you, and they will tell that to you. It's not the same shit. There is more of an occult feel of it. Now, here in America, unfortunately, as I briefly mentioned, and a lot of this depends on the lodge that you belong to. I found in my travels over the years to different lodges in different states and countries, it just depends on the individuals that occupy the chair and what's the format of the lodge. I found some lodges tend to be a bit more religious and deal more with the biblical aspects of Solomon's temple. There's some lodges that get a little more esoterical and get into some of the occult stuff. It just depends. And this is why I've always recommended to brothers when they ask about joining a lodge. And that's why I always tell brothers, go visit a couple of lodges before you make that decision. Every lodge has what they call an open night. Usually right before their meetings, they have a dinner with the brothers in the lodge, and newcomers are invited to sit in at these sit-in dinners, and you can talk to some of the brothers in the lodge and get a feel for the members in the lodge, because I've known brothers that kind of jumped at the first lodge they went to, and then as they got involved, they weren't, comfortable there for a multitude of reasons. So I would suggest visiting a couple of lodges if that is something that's crossed your mind to join a Masonic lodge. It's just a smart thing to do. So there's a connection with all that, all right? Because I get that email frequently. What do you recommend? I can't really recommend for something you need to feel and seek for yourself, because it's the simple thing is to do is I personally recommend going through F and AM, Free and Accepted Masonic Lodge. You have that, you have AF and AM, you have International, you have Prince Hall. There is some differences of structures through those lodges. You need to understand them. Some International, Prince Hall, there's a lot of hazing involved. Free F and AM, there is no physical hazing. You will go through the degrees, and I've done both because of certain things that obviously took place in my life that was going on at the time. I would recommend Free and Accepted Masonic Lodge. Just go on to whatever your state is. Just type in the Free and Accepted Masonic Lodge of state of California, wherever you're from, and look at the local lodges in your vicinity and visit a few of them, and then just go from there. That's the best way to do it. It's a waste of time to basically email me to what lodge do I suggest. I don't know, because I'm not in your area. I don't know. I might have visited, one of your lodges by chance. I don't know, but that still wouldn't give me a good enough feel to know exactly how that lodge is. So that would be my advice. But there's a connection with the Burns, because the Baron, especially Baron Samedi in this case, he is the worshipful master who holds that seat in the East, is kind of the facilitator that keeps the lodge flowing, smooth. He's the one that kind of gives the instruction that's passed, through the rest of the craft and through the other officers that makes things happen. But it's all symbolic. It's like a gateway. And there's that symbolicism there. All right. So that's the Samedis, right? Let's talk about Blanc. Some say Blanc Danny, some say Danny Blanc. Dambella we do. Let's talk a little bit about this. This Loha is similar in many ways to who they refer to in Ifa as Obatala. He is a cool Loha, concerned with compassion, fairness, and love. All right. Blanc Danny has been synchronized with the Catholic St. Michael. Now, again, you're going to find in a lot of these books, and this is the one I was going over last week by Denise Alvarado, the Voodoo Hoodoo spell book. I don't fuck with any of that synchronization with Catholic saint stuff. Now, I know there's a big debate and opinion on this. There's still a lot of traditionalists that still utilize it. No disrespect. I say fuck all that. I don't need it. I've gotten effective results. I don't bother with any of that watered down Catholicism stuff when I'm doing black magic work, because in my opinion, I just think with me, now there might be other people that have utilized it in their work and had success. But again, I want to make it clear, I'm speaking on only what I have experienced as far as getting results. That's all I can speak on. I don't fucks with none of it. I leave it all alone. I leave that shit on the table. I don't feel the need to synchronize it with something that came after the fact. But it's a spirit or archetype, I should say, that's very similar to Obatala. Obatala represents the cool aspect in Orisha. It calms the head. Obatala is invoked in that pantheon to bring that, also deals with knowledge and wisdom, but to bring that peace. It's more of a tranquil energy. Same thing with this particular archetype, right? Now, you can work with this particular archetype to gain knowledge and wisdom. Or if you're not I found work is effective this, if you're going through a period in your life where you're not in control of your emotions, your temper, your anger, this is a very good archetype to help and assist with unlocking that part of your psyche so you can get your emotions in check. Because remember, it's not that emotions, or aggression, anger, love, hate is bad. It's not that it's bad. It's just you can't let any of them consume, devour, and control you. You got to know how to be able to utilize them. So this particular archetype is a great archetype to use to kind of get that harmony working with all of that. Because again, suppressing them emotions is that's not a good thing to do. What do I mean by that? Trying to, force them away, to ignore them and block them out. That just creates more resistance. And with that resistance creates more of that resistance and stress and trauma on your subconscious mind. That's not how you deal with it. Because you can utilize anger and aggression at certain points, what you're dealing with. Sometimes you need more aggressive energy when you're doing specific work. Sometimes you need a more cooler and tranquil energy, etc. So you got to know how to utilize that. All right. And that's a good loha, okay, to use when trying to create that harmony between those emotions and energies, right? All right. I'm not going to go through all of them. All right. Ilegua, right? It was known by a couple of names. Ishu. We're going to talk about two aspects of Ilegua and Ishu. All right. Ilegua, the great trickster who owns the crossroads, is called Ilegua. He enables mankind to communicate with other Orishi and always is honored first. He is often referred to in the Voodoo pantheon as Papa Legba, right? And many people have asked that questions in the past. Is Papa Legba and Ilegua the same? The answer is yes and no. Slightly vary in the traditions or working with them. They're the same in the sense that they're road opening crossroad deities, all right? But they are not the same spirits. Ilegua is petitioned to clear the path so we may realize the attainment of our goals. In his child form, he often represents our desires, wishes, and impulses, right? Ishu is one of the most well-known spirits of the Yoruba religion and related African-derived traditions. Ishu is a powerful spirit who functions as divine messenger and gatekeeper to the spirit world. So now we see the aspect of Oshu is kind of guards that crossroad. Similar where you could have connected to the Baron, similar where you can connect it to Anubu and the Holy Death, because now we're talking about somebody that guards the gates or makes that connection from this realm to the next. Let me go on and add a little bit more to that. He sits at the crossroads offering choices and possibilities to humankind. What does that mean? When you're doing work, and I always want to say this, when you're doing work, all right, let me make this clear. I want to make this crystal clear. You're not going to do a particular ritual, light a few candles, and poof, everything's going to be solved for you. How this archetype works, it unlocks the part of your psyche that's going to open the roads and give you options, choices, decisions to make. So you still got to make the decision and you still got to go down the path to do the work. I want to make that clear because anybody that's on this path and practices it correctly knows this is not no fucking fairy tale poof, snap your fingers and everything is fixed in your life. If you think that, this is not the path for you. This path is definitely more powerful than anything you've ever encountered and come upon if you're willing to do some work. If you're willing to really apply yourself, you can get to a certain level and stage in your life and get certain results that you would not be able to obtain studying or practicing anything else. That's a fact. And I base that fact on the results. But the level of the results you obtain is only going to be determined on the effort and energy that you put into the work. So if you're half-assed, like I said in the beginning of the video, you're bullshitting or you're trying to find a quick route, the easy way, it's not going to work. I'm just telling you, you're wasting your time. All right. Ishu represents balance, which I rather say harmony, day and night, old age and youth, black and white, construction and destruction. There's that word. So he represents both what we call the yin and the yang. You understand? Ishu doesn't take one side. The Ishu energy of your psyche manifests both of those energies, what we call duality, right? Known in many different yin and yang, Sekhem in ancient Egypt, whatever you want to refer to it as. Ishu represents that. So Ishu, when you work with that energy and manifest it, it's going to bring both of those possibilities to the surface, depending on the situation and what you need to work with. What pathway, roadway you must go down to achieve what you need to achieve, right? And remember, construction and deconstruction, which we talk about a lot, you must deconstruct something or destroy it, right? And reconstruct it, right? We also use that term in the Setian mysteries, Keper and remanifest. You must, to remanifest and reconstruct something, if there's ways about yourself that are not right, rather than just talk about, like, you'll hear things like you got to deal with your bullshit on this path, but rather than just talk about it, you must actually go in there and actually fix it. And how do you fix it? You must destroy all those things about yourself that are not helping you evolve or grow, but utilize what you can to reconstruct those things, build them back up where they can be utilized for something
to benefit you, but you must first address those issues. That is the deconstruction or destruction and reconstruction process, right? Build and destroy, right? There's a little bit on this particular archetype because it works with a lot. He encompasses male sexuality, strength, and fertility, and is privy to the mysteries of life and death. And Ishu, the lord of chaos and trickery and the keeper of the life force energy, nothing can be accomplished in the human world or the spirit world without his permission. He's a translator and a bridge between humans and the natural world, the sacred and the profane. Every living thing has a personal Ishu. So you see how it separates us from individual worship of a specific deity? There's a living Ishu in every aspect or thing. When you look at it from the esoterical point of view, the hidden aspect, not just the fucking exoteric on the surface. And the problem is with a lot of these traditions and cultures today, people are caught up in the exoterical part where they're physically into the worship of these things, where they look at these things as some type of physical deity that they can propagate. And they're not looking at the esoterical hidden, because it makes it clear right there, there's a hidden issue in every aspect of everything in life. You understand? Let's continue on. Ishu goes by many different names among African-derived religions. For example, he is known as Ishu in the Orisha-Ife system of the Yoruba, as well as in Candomblé Santeria. He's also known as Ishu, which is the Brazilian aspect of what we know as Ifa/Santeria. The pronunciation of some of these deities will vary according to the language. But you'll see, if you are familiar, some people might be familiar with Candomblé. It's a very powerful African-based system that they practice in Brazil. What else we got here? He is often likened to Legba in Haitian Voodoo and New Orleans Voodoo. In Cuba, he is likened to Ilegua, and in West Africa, he is known as Ishu. In Palo Mayembe, he is known as Lucero. And my particular godmother that I went through, that is her particular guardian angel or guardian Palo spirit. However, these spirits are not the same entity. Ishu is sometimes associated with Catholic saints, again, St. Anthony, St. Michael. I don't fuck with that. But in the Afro-Brazilian tradition, commonly referred to as Umbanda, Ishus are considered a family of spirit deities. It is believed that the Ishus are the spirits of people who were considered to be either frightening, very well educated, or experts in a given field when they were alive. Ishu Mia Noete, for example, is said to be the spirit of great doctor who knows all the secrets to healing. So we're seeing, before I continue on with the last section, we're seeing there's so many levels and dynamics to this particular archetype. There's healing, there's sexuality, there's clearing paths, there's road opening, there's connection from the living and the dead, etc. And this is why in this particular system, even when dealing with Haitian Voodoo with Papa Legba, or if it's Ifa with Ilegba, Ilegua, Ishu, there's a connection there. You always have to go through that particular archetype when trying to work the system, because that archetype acts as a part of your psyche that opens roadways and pathways and clears them for you. So if the roadways and pathways aren't clear, you can't do the work. That's why there's a system to it, okay? Ishu functions as a door opener. He can remove obstacles and open doorways to new opportunities. As divine messenger, Ishu sees all and is all-knowing. He knows good and evil and can be equally cruel and generous. However, his actions are always justified and logical, never random. He has a very close relationship to the Orishi of divination, Orunla. He is the master of the Buzios, a form of divination that uses cowrie shells. And if you're familiar with the system, that is what is used. At the same time, Ishu does not need an oracle to be able to foretell the future. As a master magician, Ishu is knowledgeable and capable of doing black or white magic. And that's why I'm saying you can incorporate, because a lot of stuff has come up lately about how do you incorporate the Ifa traditions and some of the African spiritual systems with black magic. Very simple. It's no different than incorporating the Egyptian aspect of it. We got to stop locking in our mind, and I know some have that in their mind, as if like it's completely separate, like looking at it still subconsciously religious. Remember, you're focused and zoned in on what the archetype represents. You understand? That's important to understand. All right. He knows all formulas and spells. In fact, the spells and talismans are so powerful that it is said that they are impossible to destroy. He can be invoked to do manipulative magic, but only by those foolhardily enough to try. You got to be careful, because remember the trickster aspect of this energy. Because you might think you're smooth or suave with your shit, and you're going to do some manipulative work, and sometimes you can get kind of, your mind will play tricks on you to the point where you think you're going to carry something out, and you're actually being set up to learn a whole different life lesson. Okay. And that's something that comes from within. And I've seen that happen to a lot of people, where they set out to do something and thought they were going to be highly successful with it, and turned out they were being pushed down another path to learn a lesson in life. So be careful with that energy, and it can be very manipulative. All right. What else I got here? I want to get through the rest of these. Yeah, okay, we're gonna go through the rest of these. I went through, I want to just go back real quick. I know I went through it last week a little bit. Ursuline Dantor. I talked a little bit about Ursuline Dantor. I don't know if what else? Hold on one second. All right. Hold on one second. Bear with me here, peeps. Okay. All right, cool. I want to go back a little bit over Ursuline Dantor. This is a very powerful archetype that embodies a lot. And I know I touched on it fast last week. So best way I can describe this, if well, not just a man, but if a female who knows how to work with this energy can be very, very dangerous. When I say dangerous, powerful, because of what it embodies. And I ain't just saying that to sound spooky, etc. I'm saying it because it's the truth. And it's the truth based on the results. You understand? So I want to be crystal clear on that and go over that briefly, a little bit more in depth. Ursuline Dantor is a voodoo goddess of love, romance, art, jealousy, passion, and sex. Dantor supports independent business women. So I don't know if I touched on that last week. If you are an independent businesswoman, a great archetype to invoke, to increase your business, to increase your clientele, to increase your customers. She definitely works and supports that feminine energy that activates what it represents into relationship to clientele, business, etc. And is the patron of women's finances. She is also the patron of the Loa of lesbian women and a fierce protector of women and children experiencing domestic violence. She is the patron Loa of New Orleans. Ursuline Dantor offers protection and possibilities beyond the imagination. Now, let's understand this. When you talk about, if you would want to get an explanation of an archetype that embodies all of the aspects of feminine energy, be it the warrior aspect, the sexuality, the raw feminine energy as far as being independent and successful and not passive and just docile, but also retains the motherly nature and feminine characteristics, this is the particular archetype you want to fuck with. All right. It, like it said in that last section, it's beyond the possibilities of working is beyond imagination, because the warrior aspect of Ursuline Dantor is very masculine in nature, very similar. And I think briefly touched on it last week with Kali, Sekhmet. But she's one of the few that appear very feminine and beautiful, but that's just on the surface. But what lies beneath, when you look through the eyes, symbolically, I'm speaking now through the tunnel, which leads to the essence of the soul and energy of the spirit, right? It embodies so much more. But that's how it appears. Very feminine and beautiful, very together. And you can get deceived by it, because if you look at an individual that carries that energy, or you work with this archetype, it comes off like that. But when activated, it flips the flips the script. Only even say 180, 360, right? Ursuline Dantor is a mulatto woman who is often portrayed as the Black Madonna. You could actually work with a dark image, of African image of this. She's often, I'm gonna skip all that. So she has tribal scars on her cheeks. She's considered heterosexual because she has children, but she loves women fiercely and will defend them to the death. Did you hear that, females? She loves women fiercely and will defend them to the death. So when you're looking for that warrior spirit, bam, here's a great archetype. Now, again, I want to make this clear. It's not just limited to men, to females. Men can work with this energy too, but she is more favorable to working with or supporting the females. But you, as a man, you can work with this. It's not limited just to females. But what I'm saying is, if a female is looking to get that extra push, is a perfect way to go. Perfect way to go. Dantor loves knives and is considered the protector of newly consecrated voodoo priests and priestesses, as well as women who have been betrayed by a lover. All right, I'll put this out there because as a man, I ain't got no ego. Ego, what the fuck? You heard that? Ego, Venmo. Ego. If you've been done wrong by somebody and you know you were done wrong, cheated out of something by a man, lied to, deceived, or just a bunch of lies and bullshit, and deception was used on you, this is a great archetype to access and work with to kind of balance the scales, for lack of a better word. And a woman that has the power to work with this and utilize it for that. And again, I want to make it clear, you must be in the right. Can't just use it for personal gain, greed, because that only provides temporary results. But another perfect archetype to work with, right? She's highly respected and much feared due to her woman power. Most Haitian women serve Dantor, as do voodooists in New Orleans. Enlightened men, now here's the key, like I said with men, enlightened men also serve Dantor, especially men who honor, love, and respect women. So if you this macho Negro and you got all this macho bullshit that you always think you got to be macho and it's the man, no, this is a great aspect. And I've found genuine men who actually respect the female and what it represents and the power of the female, connect with it. And I know myself, I personally do. And I'm not just talking about on a sexual level, because it's not always just about sex. I can't stand, everybody just will get into when they see something, whether it's Oshun or any of these feminine deities, and the only thing they want to draw out is the sex stuff. I'm not saying that it's not important, but let's not act as if that's the only attribute or quality that is powerful and effective when working with these archetypes. Because you see, Ursuline Dantor deals with so much more. And a true man, in my opinion, a true man knows how to connect and work with this without having to feel like they're lessening themselves. And again, I've said this a million times and I'll throw it out there again. And I'll stick to this based on my experiences. The feminine archetypes tend to be way more powerful and aggressive in nature than the male. That's my opinion. All right. Where to leave? Many women invoke Ursuline Dantor against their partners, male or female, should they become violent. Ursuline's personal story is a tragedy. She was a warrior who fought with the people during the Haitian Revolution. However, her own people cut out her tongue so that she would not tell their secrets should she be captured. Thus, she is mute and can only produce a clicking sound with her tongue. She's often pictured with her daughter, Anais, who serves as her translator and interpreter. Now, I've seen when that spirit comes down, I've seen that actual aspect where somebody's there to translate. They can't speak as it says there. All right. Next one, Ursuline Frida, right? And as soon as I'm done going through these, I will go back through the chat. I will answer questions, etc. Okay. read your comments, your concerns, etc. Urzali Frida is the lower of romantic love and is the epitome of femininity and compassion. She is invoked to help and find a lover or renew a love relationship. All right. So if you're trying to do relationship or love work, right? Urzali Frida is an excellent archetype. She is also a powerful magician who can counter the blackest of magic and evil. And I don't like to use that word evil because, as I said in the beginning of the video, all of the energy has and serves a point. God, that's why I always will refer you back to the 7 hermetic principles of Tahuti. They just come in varying degrees of vibration and frequency. So you got to be careful when you read these books. And I understand why that terminology is in here, because the people writing them are in a certain mind state. I don't like to use that word because then we're separating that good and bad, good and evil shit. And so I wouldn't look at it in that light, right? Beauty, love, and sensuality are her actions to those who serve her. She can offer wealth, prosperity, and luxury. So a great deity for a lot of materialistic progress in your life, right? She possesses great beauty, grace, and sensuality and demands the cleanliness of her children. Urzali's domain is water, and she lives on the riverbanks. In the Radha aspect, or the Radha Lohas, Urzali is the spirit of beauty, jewelry, dancing, luxury, and flowers. Her colors are light blue and pink. Sometimes her clothing will be shown in rose and white. She wears 3 wedding bands for her 3 husbands: Dambella, the serpent god; Agwe, the god of fishermen; and Ogun, the god of iron. Urzali is not promiscuous. Rather, she is a goddess with a large heart. Urzali's symbols are a heart, a mirror, and a fan. She often weeps tears of sadness, joy, or frustration. Her animal is a white dove. She is associated with the Lukini Orishi Oshun. All right. Now, that's why one of the reasons why I connect with her, because in Ifa, my guardian angel, or the Orishi that ruled my head, is Oshun. And it's funny because I connect a lot with this aspect of Urzali Frida, because there's a similarness to the energy, but it is separate and distinct. And also take note, when it's mentioned some of these implements that are associated with these particular lohas, make sure this is how you can set up shrines if you're working with them. We talked about, which I may do that another time, setting up altars for the Voodoo archetypes or the Voodoo archetypes, how to do it. I know in the personal classes, we're going to get into that more in depth. I don't do that here, not because it's some great secret and shit, but it's just more time consuming. That takes more to get into. It's not something I believe you can just throw in a video and run through it in a short period of time. But you'll catch some of the key notes in here if you're working with, and some like to set up particular altars for these archetypes, right? All right, the next one, Grand Bawa, is the master of the sacred forest of the island below the waters, which is the place that the Loas call home, and to which the newly dead travel. He is the protector of all wild animals and knows the secrets of herbal medicine and magic hidden in herbs. Grand Bawa is a very loving Loha with a great sense of humor and is full of advice. He apparently is proud of the fact that he has a big, stiff penis. Yes, you heard correct. Grand Bawa can be petitioned for healing, prosperity, and general advice. I've found trying to get answers to certain things that you might be stuck on or unclear, like, for an example, critical decision making. This is a great particular Loha to work with. Now, you can use it for the other things. I have never really used it with prosperity because there's so many other archetypes. So I can't attest that level of results you will or will not get with it, but I'm sure it works. I haven't used it for that. I found to get clarity on certain things, it's a very, very effective archetype, right? He is the Loa who must be called upon before one is ordained into the Voodoo priesthood. Some of the Grand Bawa's favorite things include sweet potatoes, yams, green bananas, black pigs, goats, distilled rum, wild berries, acorns, or any type of food from the woods. All right, so that's Grand Bawa. Grand Ibu, right? Not Ibo, Ibu. Grand Ibo has an experience of the ancient, the oldest of old, beyond memory, in the roots of the beginning of time. She is most commonly known as the Swamp Witch. Pay attention to this. So called because of the Bayou Swamp in the place she calls home. Grand Ibo is a Loa of wisdom and patience. And in all spiritual circles, the hardest school to master in spirituality is the school of patience. The Sufis have a whole breakdown of intense degrees on mastering the school of patience, right? I'm going to get into that in a minute. Not the Sufi thing, but the patience thing. I'm thinking about, it's crossed my mind. I'm really thinking about doing something exclusive just on Sufism. But anyway, we'll get back to that another time. I don't want to get sidetracked. She sits and waits, watching and embracing the heart of the swamp. She holds the secrets of mysteries that lie therein. She knows the magic and medicine found within her little sisters, who are the healing plants and herbs of the forest. She knows the power of the water. Through her, the roots, plants, herbs, and flowers of the swamp communicate to the voodooist. So a great deity to connect with, to understanding nature, the microcosm, macrocosm, understanding how nature functions and works. It's a crazy thing because it's all connected. And even in the Orisha pantheon, even in the Tira, they all also have, as we know, that aspect that connects them to nature and creation, right? This is a great archetype to work with that, right? The goddess is a wise hermit, her home in the solitude of nature, away from prying eyes. Her sacred animal is the yellow canary, who whispers secrets of the mysteries into her ears. Canaries lead the soul to the astral realm, giving Grand Igbo and her canary food: blue-gray candles, swamp plants, plants with healing properties, seeds, and love and respect. Grand Igbo is excellent with oils and incenses, and we all work with that on this path. She has inner peace, bliss, and foresight. She is not rash or impulsive. She understands and hears all the languages of life's forms around it. If you lie, she will see right through you. She is the Loha of the voodoo tradition called the Congo Lohas that I mentioned last week. It is an African Congo spirit. And this is something for years now, myself personally, when dealing with African Congo spirits, and I have a personal African Congo spirit that I've been working with now, I'm going to say since 2002-ish. And actually bring that spirit down to mount and possess me, and to do work with it, and actually do specific ritualistic stuff with it in private and group settings. And I know I don't know if Brother Jack's here or others, there's some that have been around to do that. And I can attest to the Congo Lohas, which is something that's I've always had personal love for it in my heart, because I connect with that energy probably more so than a lot of other things. And man, it's a beautiful thing, because all those things you saw in that embodied Grand Igbo, nature, self, wisdom, knowledge, power, all that shit is associated with understanding this archetype and understanding self. And again, its origin and essence goes back to the Congo. Very similar. Now, sigils, which I don't think I'm gonna have time to get into, there's a lot of sigil work that you can utilize with these archetypes. I just, for this particular set, I might do a continuation on this, which I probably will. I just basically wanted to get through some of the basics and understanding some of these voodoo deities, right? Grand Maître, the original supreme being of Haitian religion, is Grand Maître. He is considered by some New Orleans practitioners to be more remote for personal worship, kind of like Olaron or Runa or in Ifa. But I don't get into that actual worshiping a supreme being thing, because now we're back to religion. But look, I would look at that on this path more representation. Grand Maître or Grand Matron, which is actually saying, it's just saying the highest, the greatest. Look at that as a higher aspect of self. The Gede, right? The Gede are a family of spirits associated with death. They live in cemeteries. There are countless Gede spirits, with Baron Asandi and Papa Gede being the most popular. Gede are genuinely good and generous spirits. Both Papa Baron and Grand Brigette have great healing power. It is believed that the Gede can decide the fate of a person near death by allowing him or her to recover or make the transition to the afterlife. They are particularly fond of young children and protect them from harm. Unless it is the will of the ultimate creator, Gede spirits do not allow children to die or before they have lived their lives. And you heard that when we were talking about Baron Samedi and the crossroad deities, the Barons, earlier. The Gede control the crossroads at which every human must pass on the way to the afterlife. Very similar to the Egyptian concept with Anubu, the opening of the mouth ceremony, you know, the gateways to the underworld, right? The 12 gates to the underworld, or the duat. This shit is all connected, all right? Then it goes on to say, where did I leave off? Sorry, I lost my spot. Unless it is the will of the ultimate creator, Gede spirits do not allow the children to die before they have lived their lives. The Gede control the crossroads. That's where we left off. in which every human must pass on the way to the afterlife. In the Haitian culture and New Orleans voodoo, is believed that permission must be obtained from Papa Baron, the Lord of the Dead, in order to communicate and connect with the ancestral spirits. In every major ceremony in Haiti, Papa Baron is represented by a black cross mounted on a small tomb. Now, the sigils, whether it's the Baron, Mama Briquette, Mama Free, or any of these, you'll see there's a lot of energy, symbolicism, and consciousness represented in these sigils, and they can definitely open up psyches and inner power within you if you utilize them correctly. Kalafu is Legba's petro manifestation, meaning his fiery aspect. Again, it is more aggressive, but again, I don't like to separate them with that good and bad shit. Kalafu also has dominion over the crossroads, but he controls the shadow forces of the spirit world as well. Kalafu oversees the in-between points of the crossroads and allows the crossing of bad luck, deliberate destruction, misfortune, and injustice. This is a spirit that will bring obstacles in your path just to fucking see if you're smart enough, intelligent enough, and strong enough to overcome them. And that's the aspect of you that opens those doors to allow certain things to manifest in your life and happen, right? And that's what it'll do. And to see if you're able to overcome those challenges or obstacles, right? While Legba controls the positive spirits of the day, Kalafu controls the malevolent spirits of the night. Kalafu is described as being strong, tall, and muscular. When he appears at a ceremony, everyone present will stop speaking because he allows evil Lohas in. He claims the most of the chief Lohas know him and that he works with them. He is sometimes depicted as demonic, but Kalafu denies this. He is a respected Loha, but he is also feared and not well liked. All right, a little religious there. He is an expert sorcerer and closely associated with black magic. Ceremonies for him are often held at the crossroads. In New Orleans, he is known as Ma'it Carrefour, right? Kalafu, I can tell you this. If you are a spooky ass person and you have fear within you, it can be a little intimidating working with it, but I don't want to pass it off as it's something evil, as it described here. All right. La Sarine is an enchanting lore of the sea and the treasures that lie therein. She's often depicted as a mermaid, sitting on a rock, gazing at a reflection in the water while combing her long black hair. She's sometimes considered an aspect, or Zurlili Frida, or an aspect of the Loha La Balin, the spirit of the whale. La Sarine is a Loha of wealth, musical arts, love, beauty, and dreams. She's the queen of the sea and has the ability to hypnotize people with her beautiful songs. She is known to grant gifts of extreme wealth and luck. La Sarine is especially honored in the New Orleans voodoo. When petitioned, she is offered shrimp, seaweed, and seawater. In return, she blesses her followers with gifts of music, wealth, and beauty. La Sarine's ritual colors are blue and green, and her offerings include sea glass, pink champagne, combs, sacred songs and chants, and sweet white wine, but never fish, as these are her children, as a mermaid. This is symbolic, right? La Sarine epitomizes seductive power. She's the wife of Agwe and is the mistress of Ogun. Petition La Sarine when you need luck and money or when you need to enhance your seductive power, sensuality, and sex appeal. So if you're an ugly, buck-toothed, broke-ass motherfucker, no, let me stop. That was a joke. If you're struggling with that, attracting people with that sex appeal and finances, you might want to make yourself look better and utilize La Sarine. I was just having a little fun there. Make her happy and she will give you quick results. Lemba, a deity of the Congo religion. Lemba is worshipped in the African-derived religions of Haiti, Brazil, and New Orleans. That deals more with the Congo spirits again. Right? Less more. I'm going to go through these ones quick. Less more in Haitian Creole is the collective term for the dead. Right? Connection with the word muerte, by the way. Ancestor reverence forms the foundation of the voodoo religion. Let me say that again. And this is why I believe in any path. Ancestor reverence forms the foundation of the voodoo religion. And I believe in all of these systems, and I say believe based on the results, not on blind faith, that you must have that foundation with the ancestors. I don't care what anybody says. And I will disagree with that forever. And I say that knowing, again, the power of the results you get. That should always be your building block, right? This refers to our personal and collective ancestors and the Loas who were once human. La Grande Zombie. La Grande Zombie is the most important Loa in the New Orleans voodoo pantheon. His name is most commonly linked to the name of Marie Laveau's pet snake, a huge boa boa constrictor, or royal python, right? To this day, it is still most important voodoo that they have a holiday actually around this particular in New Orleans. But as already been discussed in the previous chapter, La Grande's army did not begin or end with Marie Laveau. That's something that goes back prior to her. Limba is one of the New Orleans Lohas, believed to be among, I'm trying to see how much more we got left here. All right. Believed to live among the rocks. He has an insatiable appetite, persecutes, kills, and eats people. Even his own devotees are not safe from his hunger. This is not a particular voodoo deity that's worked with regularly. I've known people to utilize this to attack when their life was in danger, utilize it for a very intense reason, but I would recommend caution with that particular Loha. A Haitian, L'Inglisu, and a Haitian Loha who lives among rocks and ravines. L'Inglisu is said to kill those who offend him. Same type as Limba, be careful. Loco. In the voodoo religion, Loco, like Papa Loco, is a Loa of vegetation and patron of healers, and healing plants, especially herbs and trees. Loco is the husband in Loa of Aizan, and is considered the first Hugan as the spiritual parents of the priesthood. Loco and Aizan are two laws associated with the Kanzo priesthood initiation rites. They are both powerful guardians, and the correct and appropriate form of voodoo service comes from the royal lineage of Dahomey, and his sacred number is 41. His feast days are January 6th and May 1st, colors of green, yellow, and white, and he is served on Wednesdays. That's more of the traditional aspect here in the West, but as it said, it had its origin in the land of Dahomey in Africa, right? Maat Karifor, Si Kaufu, the voodoo lord of the crossroads, and Loha of magicians. He's the law who stands in balance to Legba. That's another name, so it's talking about the same Loha as Kaufu, just another name. All right, so we went over that. Maman Brigette, right? In the voodoo, Maman Brigette, Grand Brigette, Maman Brigette, different pronunciations. Maman Brigette is the mother of cemeteries, synchronized in Ifa with Oya, but we'll get into that in a little. Is the mother of cemeteries, the law of money and death, and the wife of Baron Samedi. She may be related to the triple Celtic goddess of poetry, smithcraft, and healing. Saint Brigette is her name in Irish in origin. She's usually depicted in that's that Catholic shit. So we'll skip that. The first woman grave in a cemetery in Haiti is dedicated to her. Her colors are black, purple, and white. Her number is 9. And Oya's number is also 9 in the Ifa tradition. Not a coincidence. And her particular days of service include Monday and Saturday. Her sacrificial animal is a black chicken. She drinks rum laced with hot peppers. Man, if you ain't never drink that shit, that is some serious tear gas. And like her husband and the rest of the Gay Day spirit, she is a potty mouth and uses profanity. Very, very, very. Even when that spirit comes down, it uses a lot of cursing and profanity, or when it takes hold of an individual. Maman Brigette is known to rub her private parts with hot peppers. I don't suggest anybody do that. And those who appear to be faking possession by her in a voodoo ceremony may be subjected to this test, which they obviously would not pass if their possession is not genuine. She is a very sexual dancer, and her skill in the Banda dance is legendary. Maman Brigette is invoked to cure those who are near death as a result of magic. She will protect gravestones if they are marked properly with a cross. Now, keep in mind here, you don't want to pretend you're getting mounted by the spirit. As I said, they do that test where if they feel you are faking it, they will rub hot peppers on your private parts. Don't want to find out. So don't fake the funk is the message there, right? Mama Wata is the African water spirit who makes an appearance in the New Orleans pantheon. She's depicted as a mermaid and a snake charmer. Mama Wata provides kind and nurturing guidance and good fortune in the form of money. Marasa are the divine twins. They are equivalent to the Ibe and Ifa. And I didn't receive them in Voodoo, but I received the Ibe in that tradition. Went through a whole ceremony, kind of elaborate ceremony to receive them, animal sacrificing. And one of the chickens that's sacrificed is cleaned, cooked, and prepared, and you have to eat it, which I had to do that. But you will be familiar with the Marasa, the twins, as the Abeyi in the Ifa tradition. They are children, but are more ancient than other Lohas. As spirits, they can exhibit The behavior of children, both positive and negative. They love toys, but will sometimes throw tantrums. They are considered very sacred and have the ability to heal and clairvoyant powers. According to Milo Regard, the Marasa are love, truth, and justice, directed by reason, mysteries of the liaison between earth and heaven, and they personify astrological learning. They synthesize the voodoo Loha as a personification of divine power of the human impotence, double life. They have considerable power, which allow them to manage people through the stomach. They are children mysteries. The Marasa are somehow different from standard Lohas. While they are twins, there are 3 of them. While they are male and female, they are both male and female. An example of Haitians' worldview capacity to retain 2 seemingly contradictory concepts. The Marasa are commonly synchronized with the Catholic twin brothers, Saints Cosmos and Damon. Same thing in Ifa, which I don't fuck with that. In Voodoo, Marasa, Jumu are the ghosts of deceased twin children. They symbolize the elemental forces of the universe. One thing I can attest, we're having personal experience with these particular spirits. Even though they are children's, very important. They're not childish spirits in nature. It's a very wise, ancient type of spirit. Even though they carry a childlike energy in certain aspects, they can be very volatile in connecting with them incorrectly, but very powerful, wise in nature. All right. So let's see what else we got here. All right, Marionette is a powerful and violent Loha of the Petro family. She was the Mambo who first summoned the Jab Izili Dantor to kickstart the Haitian Revolution. She is very skilled in herbal healing. The owl is one of her symbols, and she is served outside. Offerings are given to her in a special straw woven bag that is hung from a tree far away from the temple. She drinks gasoline as opposed to water or rum, and she is served with pine bundles called Bawapin. I don't recommend you do this. I've seen people drink gasoline when mounted by her. It's crazy shit. All right. Mambo, the New Orleans Loha status causes of storms and torrential rain. All right. You can synchronize that energy again with change, evolution, storms, comes destruction and growth. And some synchronize that with that quote unquote similar energy like Oya, right? All right, so we got a couple more. So I'm trying to get through them. Almost done, and then we'll take a few. We'll go through the chat. Achosi is known as the hunter, the divine tracker, and master of the woods. He is the patron Orishi of justice and assists in court cases and legal disputes. His colors can be black and green like Ogun, although he has also been associated with yellow, blue, and sometimes lavender. He is depicted wearing a leopard or deerskin tunic. His sacred tools with a bow and arrow and deer antlers are placed on his altar. The deer, goat, hen, and parrot are sacrificed to him. Since he is one of the warriors, his feast day falls on the same day as Ogun. Now, in Ifa, there is on one of the initiations you receive your warriors, and you get your pot, which has the stones of Ogun, Ochosi, and you get your Alegua head. Alegua, Ogun, and Achosi work together because of what they represent. Alegua being that crossroad deity, everything we just explained about Alegua. Achosi being the warrior aspect, with the symbolicism of the bow and arrow, clearing the path. He is the eliminator. Ogun also is the warrior, provides the other additional warrior aspect. He also connects with that road path clearing. So that's why when you look at the warriors in that particular initiation, they connect, and that's why they kind of go together, right? Papa Gede is the Lord of cemeteries in New Orleans. Is considered the counterpart to Baron Samedi. He waits at the crossroads to escort souls. This would actually be who you would identically synchronize Anubu or Anubis with in ancient Egypt, because he is also the one that escorts the souls through the gates of the underworld, right? Like all barons, he has a very crass sense of humor. Papa Gede is considered to be the corpse of the first man who ever died. He appears as a short, dark man with a high hat on his head, a cigar in his mouth. There's that Masonic influence again, and an apple in his left hand. He has said that he has a divine ability to read minds and know everything that happens in both worlds. If a child is dying, Papa Gede is prayed to. It is believed that he will not take a life before its time. They all have that attribute, and that it will protect little children. Papa Libat, right? Let's see. One of the things that I find to be brilliant about voodooists is their incredible resiliency. All right, we'll skip that. That's really not important. Simply, we went over these. All right, I think we're good. That's the main ones. So kind of just wanted to go through that and kind of touch on that. So what we'll do now is we'll go through some of the questions. Okay. Okay. Actually, I still need my glasses. I can't see. Anyway, all right. So I'm gonna scroll. I'll start from the top and go to the bottom. But let me see the last count. Okay, I don't know who Neon 14 is. If this does not live up to your expectation, and you go find a channel that does. Couldn't care two craps about your personal opinions. That's entirely personal. So it's as easy as just tuning out and going to another channel. And being black, working black magic has nothing to do with whether you're Latino or black. It's the actual practice itself. So obviously you ain't too bright. So if it doesn't meet your personal standards, it's just as easy as tuning out and going to another channel. So we won't entertain ignorance. And like I say, if ignorance continues, we just block them from the room. So we'll let the individuals stay for the time being unless they have intelligent questions. If not, we just remove them. I don't waste my time and energy with getting sidetracked with nonsense. And like I say, I've said this before a million times. If you're listening to information, I don't tune in or go to classes or listen to anybody's channel if I'm not feeling it or I'm disagreeing with it. I just don't tune in. It's that simple. Real easy, not complicated. All right, so let's see what else we got. Let's go to actual questions and comments and not ignorance. Again, if I didn't greet you when you came in the room, peace and greetings. I'm gonna skip through some of those. All right, what else we got here? I'm gonna skip personal conversation between you guys. All right. All right, this is people just saying what's up, peace, everybody's greeting each other. I'm gonna skip all that. Baphalicious Yummy mentioned the movie Serpent and the Rainbow. That is a good movie if you haven't seen it. I mean, some of it is a little bit off point, exaggerated, but it gets into some of the stuff that we're talking about. So yes, I would recommend people check that out if they haven't seen it. What else we got? All right, I'm skipping all the pieces and you guys talking to each other. Baphalicious Yummy says, I have Dambella, Aidu we do. Vive tattooed on my left leg. Okay. Oni typed in, what's going on, Oni? Typed in Babaluaye heals and kills. Yes. That's why I was saying earlier, and working with that back in January when my father went through his and passed away, it helps you, it deals with that death aspect on a multitude of levels. And that's why you must understand, outside of the illness, sicknesses, healings, etc., it does work with that part of it as Oni is describing. And that's important to understand when working with it and connecting with it. Mandy types in, love Babaluaye, no joke. Right. Oni also mentions another name, Sapona, that Babaluaye is known by. And there are people that do fear it. Because sometimes when that might come up in certain systems, they feel as if it could be, something detrimental and negative. And that's not always the case. But there is a lot of fear when it comes to that, unfortunately. Baphalicious Yummy typed in also, Voodoo Visions is a good book to check out. Okay. I have not read it, but I will look into that and maybe others. If you see, she typed that in earlier. That was over an hour ago. That was at 4:54. If you're looking for Voodoo Visions. Oni types in also, I have crutches on my altar for Babaluaye, which is one of his attributes. You'll see, when you see the statue of San Lazaro, you'll see he has the crutches. So that is one of the attributes that are connected to Babaluaye. All right. Love my fro. Peace is peace. Left hand path family. Oni types in Babaluaye fights battles for you too. He teaches you to accept what is and be humble about it. Yes. And that's what I was saying earlier. You don't want to get caught up just on the surface of what these archetypes represent. Some people just they zone in on one particular attribute and then they run with it, and that's it. And there's more. As we went through a bunch of them, there's way more dynamics than just some of the surface stuff that we're familiar with. All right. All right, what else we got? Mandy types in, he also drapes himself in hay to cover his scars from small park scars. I have a statue of him as such, love him. Okay. Oni typed in Barrett Samdi. Okay, I'm gonna skip some of these. It's just the Black Tower typed in. I had Baron level 1 come to me once, was very weird. I heard what sounded like knocking on my wall where nothing was. Okay, so you had a personal experience. Only types in, I have a pair of sunglasses with one lens missing from them. I've seen that. I've seen people have that on their altar too. The Black Tower types in, also followed by visions of him on a very large hog. Never found out what that symbolism meant. You also see that in some of the statues. You'll see the pig or the hog at his feet. You'll see those animals at his feet. That is a symbol that is, affiliated with it. Now, it can mean different things on a multitude of levels. It does also represent sometimes stubbornness. It can be utilized being very, very firm in what you're doing. It has many different symbolisms, depend on how you're working with it, but you will see that symbol of the hog and some of the imagery that's associated with it. All right. Oni types in Santissima Muerte, my friend. Yes, we've done classes on that. Now, again, you can classify Santissima Muerte, the Holy Death, has very, very similar attributes as these crossroad deities, be it the Barons, be it Papa Legba, be it Anubis, all of them, Ishu, the aspect of Ishu, who also is that connection from quote unquote this realm to the next. So yeah, there's a synchronization with all that. All right. This is interesting. Mandy types in, my son kept getting strep throat once a month and I hate antibiotics. Babaluaye helped. He hasn't gotten strep since. Yeah, a very powerful archetype to work with when it comes to healing. So yes, that's probably the most known and utilized, and it is very efficient. But as Oni typed in earlier, understand the other attributes in connection with it. But that's great that you did that and got those results. That's really good. Mandy also types in, put a snowflake obsidian stone by him for a while, then around my son's neck with my intent, and it worked. All right, so that's the work you did. Cool. The Black Tower types in, I actually have no way of describing in words the grin on his face. You're talking about your experience. And his head was tilted sideways, showing me the left side of his face. All right. Wow, autocorrect messed up the word LaCroix. Now, understand this: when you're having personal experiences, visions, dreams, or an actual experience, or you're in a trance-like spiritual state, a lot of that is personal. A lot of that happened a particular way for a reason, and you should really dissect and study. Like, obviously, what you're recollecting in this experience, usually it is detailed meanings and symbolisms personally for you of something that's going on with you currently that you should really zone in and focus on, because it is personal. So you should really dissect that experience and see what you get out of it. If you have not, I'm sure you have to an extent, but sometimes you got to go over it several times, because those things happen for a reason. They just don't randomly happen. All right. Sister Yvette, peace. Only types in, she'll whip your ass. Yes. If you don't utilize energy right, and that's the stuff I was saying in the beginning of the video. Okay, I just want to make it clear, not to say it in a scary, spooky way, but if you come half-assed with it, yes, you will find yourself with more obstacles than you started out with, whether it's Ishu or anybody. All right, what else we got? Mandy types in, make sure you're in the right regardless. Check yourself first. True indeed. Andre Pope types in, mentally, spiritually, ritually, let the ego, let go of the ego. Yep, that's true indeed by Andre. Only types in, Geomagic. Only also types in, Kaofu loves apples at the crossroads of 3 and M. And that's a lot of those rituals, understand what they symbolize when you do them and the intent. When dealing, especially with crossroads, as I said, they can be utilized to open paths on a multitude of levels, spiritually, mentally, financially, to personal relationship blockages. Any of those rituals, you can, like that ritual that Oni, or that's particular thing that Oni just typed in, you can use that and fuel it with the intent of one of those aspects if you so choose. So that's just one aspect to work with it if the individual so chooses. All right. Oni also types in, Kalfu comes through Odu Ifa, Ofun, and Okran, and Ishu, and Shango. Right. All right, we ready to address that bullshit. What else we got? Magic is magic, labels not needed. Yeah. Like I said, I already directed the ignorance from that person. Neon 14. Obviously, he's self-confused, as if he apparently thinks that him or people that only look like him or her are the only individuals that have the power, first of all, to conjure spirits, which is that's fucking comical. But anyway, what else we got? Perfection 933. If I never called on spirit before I made an altar, what would be the best step or first thing to do? I want to start with my ancestors, but I don't really know them. Well, first step, if you don't even have an ancestral altar set up, that would always be your first step. And start basic. What do I mean by that? Set up you can set up a table, as however big or small you want. And what you want to put on that are some of the basic elements: earth, wind, air, fire, water. You want to put some like to put multiple glasses of water on there. I like to put one big goblet of water on there. A white candle, for your spirits or your ancestors, and pictures of relatives that have passed on, blood relatives that have passed on. If you don't have pictures, you can write their names on parchment paper, as long as you know their names. And as time goes on, you can start building it with more things you become familiar with. You might start connecting with particular Indian ancestral spirits you had, other things. So it'll start building up with time. So step one would be set up a place where you can meditate and commune and connect with them. Start basic, and then kind of work your way out there. But start with little simple things like that, because again, that's the foundation. So if you don't have anything like that set up, I would definitely start with that first. All right. And that's the way you get to know them, because you'll receive certain communications in them sittings, but also do the basic physical surface work. Start doing some research on your family if you can. Start pulling up both sides of your bloodline, mother and father, and see what it connects back to. And that might open the doorway to certain traditions that your family partook in, cultural things. And you might be able to create certain rituals or workings designed in those specific systems. And that's going to make you more aware of who and what your particular ancestors are. So I would start there basic. All right. LA to Atlanta media. What is the reptilian eye seeing meditation? Again, that could be a multitude of things. If you're seeing it in your meditations, again, when you're having a personal experience or a meditation and you're having a vision or you're experiencing something, you really want to focus on what's going on currently in your life, because usually the symbolicism of why you're seeing it for that reason. So it's kind of hard to just say there's not one particular meaning for the reptilian eye. Or why you're seeing it. So I would kind of go back through and analyze it on that level. All right. What else do we got? Dan doing types of ignorance has no bounds. Well, that's sometimes that's true. Like I say, it's easy. It's easy. Like I say, I do when I do my stuff, I don't hide behind a keyboard. and type ignorant shit in. You see me when you invite these people to talk with them, they run like bitches, you know. But that's all part of it. I've been dealing with that shit for over 20 something years. That shit don't even bother me. It's comical. What else we got? Yvette types in, Brother Benita, do you have a favorite voodoo that you like to work with? Yes, Baron Samedi. Actually, all the crossroads. Papa Legba. Baron Samedi, especially, like I said, we did a ritual last year here. And because of what it embodies, again, you'll tend to, not just this path, because I mean, we're just talking about it right now. Working with any archetype or deity, if that's what you want to call it, you're going to start to naturally gravitate towards those particular ones based on you at the moment. This is why you go through changes in life where you might at a particular period be feeling the urge to work with one more than the other, because usually what that deity or archetype represents, that's what's going on currently in your life. That's the issues that are connected to do what specific things are going on in your life. So that's a telltale sign. But then you're going to develop relationships with some based on your just natural connection to the energy, the vibration, and the frequency that you feel, the connection. So the best way I describe it, I kind of just go with the flow. But if I had to single one out particularly, I would say Baron Samedi. All right. Yvette, also, do archetypes help with healing viral diseases such as HIV, AIDS, meningitis? Yes, they can. It was mentioned with a couple that we went through in that pantheon not too long ago. You got to understand this. When I said earlier, let me back up, and this is why I was saying earlier about sometimes you're going to find out you can pretty much control everything in life to an extent of certain aspects of death. And one thing that I had to face, I had done work when my father was on his deathbed suffering from his illness. I had done work and successfully kept him alive for a while. But then it was revealed in that work that it was his time to go. And I wasn't saying that, and I'm not saying that and passing that on to anybody in a religious sense. That's sometimes working with these deities. For an example, you might work with one of those deities, such as, let's just say, Babaluaye, and who deals with sicknesses, illnesses, and deaths. But it also might be conveyed to you that, yes, you're doing work to temporarily keep something going, that its time has expired and time to move on to something bigger and better. And I'm trying to convey that without sounding too religious, because when you're in the moment of it and understanding how it's being conveyed, it comes off completely different. And even though at that time, influx of emotions came through me when that reality took place, be it sadness, anger, but also joy and happiness, because knowing that this shit would be over. I'm saying that to say, always be prepared if you're doing work on or work for somebody, or you're dealing with something or somebody with terminal illness or consistent illness, such as you mentioned, Sister Yvette. If you go into it with the mindset that you're willing to embrace whatever manifests, then you'll be okay. And I'm more so talking in the areas of death and sickness, all right? Specifically that. I'm not talking about the easy things that it's easy to obtain, that are obvious when you work with correctly: finances, relationships, love, money, and all that stuff. That's the easy stuff. This is why a lot of us study spirituality, whatever it may be. Again, not just this, whatever it may be. This is why a lot of us want knowledge, well, I would hope. And this is why a lot of people stay stuck in fear and confounded to religion, because of that unknown aspect of death. And this is why on all these spiritual systems on the left-hand path and working black magic, we embrace what death represents, because we know, wholeheartedly know, based on experience, not just theory, that death is the doorway to eternal life. And again, it doesn't mean we're looking quicker to go. That's not what it means. It means we understand it fully, we embrace it, and we know it's part of the journey, it's part of the transition, it's unavoidable. And that's why I said a few minutes ago, there's one thing you can't control: death, because when it's your time, it's your time. But all of those things, while you are living in physical form, you have the ability to control and master and utilize whatever time it might be in this existence, which is probably not your first. Use whatever time you have in this existence to master self and get yourself to that level of immortality while in human form. But knowing the specifics of how that works. And as I said before, I know those that have known me for, or have been working with me for over 20 plus years know, okay, I never present this path as anything spooky or unreasonable or illogical, okay? Because with the responsibility of knowing, okay, that's a burden to a certain extent, because now that you know, you're obligated to do something about things in your life. You're obligated, because having the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding and then just sitting back on it and not doing anything with it, that becomes stagnated and unproductive. You understand? So I'm saying all those things because your question kind of really goes into other avenues. There's a whole bunch of dynamics that comes along with that. So as long as you understand that, okay? All right, what else do we got? Kay Edwards types in, I always see pics of Baron Samedi here in New Orleans everywhere. People must work with him a lot. Yeah, and I forgot Kendrick K. Edwards. I forgot. Again, you're in that area. Yeah, I mean, it's a very popular Voodoo deity or voodoo deity, especially in New Orleans, because of the practice of voodoo and hoodoo magic and systems that they use there. So I'm sure, and I know there's a lot of cult shops and places you could probably go in there and get a lot of different things that are there. I know they're there. You might want to, look into some of that stuff, since you're right in the heart or the essence of a lot of those things. I would definitely look into that. So yeah. As long as we, like I say, understand, it looks like that's pretty much, I don't see any more questions. So I think we will wrap it up here in a minute. Real quick, just a couple quick announcements before everybody disappears. Again, for those that have taken or are taking the class, where session 3, again, reminder, 3 o'clock. All right, look for your invite at 3 o'clock. Again, as I said, if the time changes, I will let you know if anything changes, which it won't. We're good to go with that. Again, a reminder, which it's getting close to the end of the month. On the 27th, we have the vampiric mass of the ancient Egyptian rite we'll be doing down here. If anybody is interested, you must send us an email for an invite. It's private. We will talk with you first, and we'll go from there. And again, that's why the flyers have request an invite. We're not going to give you the physical location and all that information until we confirm for sure that you will be attending. And as usual, in the description box, you will see information, the email for everything that I'm talking about, the ritual on the 27th. If you are interested in a consultation or a spiritual reading, they're two different things, specify, or classes, you can email me at khnum19@gmail.com, which is in the description boxes. For those, I know I've received a few emails since the classes started. We're already going into session 3. So it's kind of really too late for anybody else to join. I wouldn't want to do that to anybody. We will do the next one in the end of the fall, going into the winter. It'll be another session you can get in on it'll be different things. So for those that have emailed and inquired about that, that'll be coming up in the fall and winter. You'll be able to join in on that. All right. And yeah, Brother Gene, I will finalize the spot for the little thing we'll be doing in the fall. It's just I'm torn between 2 spots right now, and I'm trying to negotiate with one to come down a little bit on the price. I'm kind of negotiating with them, and I kind of feel like I'm going to get it down. But I'll have all that, and we'll talk about that. But other than that, that's all I got for this week. I probably, if need be, I think I'm going to see. I say that now, I might feel a different way. We might go into a whole nother topic. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will talk to everybody soon. All right. Peace.